Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode. As today I'm reviewing the first of the horror film trilogy that's coming out over the next 3 weeks, Fear Street Part 1, 1994. Now, for me, and I'm sure a lot of people around my age, we've all been fans of R.L. Stine and his books, whether it be from the Fear Street series or Goosebumps, which was more my kind of liking. R.L. Stine was our Stephen King, especially at a young age. And, now we grew up and then we went to Stephen King for the most part. But now that they are making a movie series about Fear Street, particularly a trilogy here, I got excited. It was one of those things where it was unique enough to remember from my childhood. And by making this a trilogy event, especially the way Netflix is doing this, where it's dropping a new movie every week, I think was a very smart plan. And keeps you talking about one particular film until the next Friday when we get the next installment. I was really excited to see this. I also was hearing some great things from the first film. So going into this, I had some pretty high expectations going into this, hoping that we were going to get something good in terms of a slasher kind of film, because part 1 looks to be more of kind of like a slasher film. Part 2 looks to be more like kind of like a Friday the 13th-esque kind of thing, where part 3 looks to be more of like a witch kind of film. So going to 1994, first thing you kind of notice right off the bat is it does have a very, at least for the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes is very Scream-esque. And for anyone who's ever seen Scream, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the first 10 minutes of the film. You get I wouldn't say a big name star, but a rising star in Maya Hawke, Uma Thurman, and Ethan Hawke's daughter. Many people will know her from Stranger Things or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's got a really small part in there. She is the titular main character role in these first 10 minutes of the film, and we get a very Scream-esque kind of introduction to her. And it is shot incredibly well. The way they use the neon lighting in this film, I think, works immensely to give like a 90s kind of tone to it. And I think it works really well. And that first 10-minute sequence, I really enjoyed. Then we go into the meat of the actual story with these teenage characters, led by Kiana Madeira. She plays Dina. We got Olivia Scott Welch, who plays Samantha Frazier. We got Julia Rywald, who plays Kate. We got Benjamin Flores Jr., who plays Josh. And then we've got Fred Hershinger, who plays Simon. These are basically our 5 mains that we are watching through this film. The uniqueness of the story, I think, works really well. When you think that it's just going to be another slasher film like a Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer or something like that, once you get into the meat of the actual storyline and the film, it definitely adds a uniqueness to it that was actually really intriguing. It was something that I was actually really, as I was watching, going, I like where we're going. I like this path that we're going down with the story. The slasher or skull mask, I think is what they're calling him, the Halloween skull mask or whatever they're calling him in the film. I think that skull mask works to perfection. I think it's something that is scarier looking than obviously Ghostface. Ghostface is iconic, but I love the design of skull mask in this film. There are some other reverbs of past killers that we see in the film. One that literally looks like a tribute to one of the very first Jasons of the Friday the 13th series. There's some other ones that we get to see that we know that are going to pop up in future installments. But we don't get enough to really look at them outside of, I think her character's name was Ruby. I think it's Ruby, but her character I really enjoyed as well. It could not be Ruby. It could be someone completely different. But I'm not going to waste time looking it up. There's a lot here that really works with Fear Street. The way it's shot, the way it looks, the way they shoot the horror aspects. Even a lot of the comedic dialogue in these slasher films, I think, works really well, especially from Fred Hershinger, who plays Simon, and Julia Rywald, who plays Kate, and Benjamin Flores Jr., who plays Josh, I think does a really great job as well. The main problem I've got with Fear Street is that when you get to inevitably the end game of a slasher film or horror franchise, you have to want to root for the two mains or the one main or, however many mains there are in the film. You want to, when you never get to the final girl or final boy or whatever in a lot of these horror films, you're supposed to be fully backing them. You're supposed to want them to survive. You want them to live, because throughout the film, they've done a great job of making you care and want to see these characters survive. And I feel like the main problem with this film is the particular two main leads in this film, Dina and Samantha Fraser, played by Kiana Madeira and Olivia Scott Welch. I know I probably said her name wrong. I apologize. These are my least favorite characters. I feel like these characters are annoying. They're selfish, and they really don't care about the rest of the mains in this film. And the other three, to me, are the most enjoyable parts of the film. They are the funny ones. They are the ones that I care about, and they're the ones that I feel like had done enough of story building to want to see these three survive more than the two mains that they're focusing on for this film. And that's where, to me, the main problem with the film lies, is that you're focusing on the wrong two characters. You have a core of 5, and the other 3 are easily the better characters. They're the more fun, and they're the characters you want to go on this journey with, whereas the other 2, you kind of just wish they'd get killed off. And that's nothing against the performances of these actresses. They're fine. It's the way they're written. I don't think they're written well enough for us to really give a shit whether these characters live or die. I was honestly hoping that they would die and we would follow the other 3, because I feel like the other 3 were more enjoyable to watch and more to go down that journey with. Also, you've got the sheriff, Nick Good, played by Ashley Zuckerman, who basically looks a little bit like Jake Gyllenhaal meets Ryan from The Office. I feel like he gets underutilized to the point where it was like, what was the point of his character in the film? There is some bad acting in this movie. Some of the dialogue is very cringeworthy, and I think that's more or less to just underdeveloped actors and actresses who maybe aren't quite ready to be in a film yet. One particular one that stood out was Jeremy Ford, who plays Peter. Every line he delivers is horrendously bad. It's easily one of the worst performances I've seen of the year. Luckily, he's not in it as long for it to be a big factor, but I feel like, for the most part, 3 of the 5 leads in this film, I think, do a solid job in making you care. The rest, not so much. Here's another problem that could be a problem. It might not be. I trust that the people who are doing this trilogy know what they're doing. 1994 story feels like a great starting off point to where the story should start and see where we're going to go from here. But knowing that we're going to, I think it's 1973 in the sequel, and then 1666 in the third film, we're going backwards. And the thing is that in this film, we already know the outcomes of what happened in 1666 and 1973, to the point where it takes the not the illusion, but it takes the doubt of knowing what's going to happen in these 2 future films out of the equation. Now, they could throw us for a complete loop and keep us on our toes and have us not and just make it seem like you think you know what's going to happen, but you really don't know. Which if they do, great. But I feel like 94 is a great starting off point. I want to see what happens towards, into the future of 94, not go back into the past. Plus, at the end of this film, they literally show a preview for 1973, and I feel like they gave way too much away, to the point where I'm like, I feel like I've already seen this film now, because you've already given me like a 5-minute, kind of like 2 to 5 minute teaser of the new film, and you showed way too much in that I already feel like I've seen the movie. Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope next week's 1973 is awesome. It looks awesome, but I feel like you've also, like how most movie trailers go, you've given me too much. I've seen too much, and I know how the movie's going to end. I hope I'm wrong, and we'll find out next week when I review that. But I think Fear Street 1994, while flawed in its points, I think works for the most part. It's a very solid slasher film, and a great kickoff start point to this potential trilogy. Here's hoping parts 2 and 3 live up to what 94 has promised. Going to my overall score, I'm going to give Fear Street Part 1, 1994, a 70%, which is a B grade. I think anyone who's looking for a new horror film or a new horror trilogy franchise should definitely check out Fear Street. It's on Netflix right now. I think you guys will enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we have the Werewolves Within, and we also have No Sudden Move. Also, next week, we got myself and Brian Michaels back for the Weekend Crusaders, where we talk about 5 movies that come out during that weekend in movie history. We also have a half-year movie rankings review of all the movies that have come out in the first 6 months, as well as a Weekend Crusaders half-year review over what the shows we've done so far. So be on the lookout for those. And until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.